Hey,
Hey, Glenn.
just thawing out.
You're throwing out. We just got bang. Sorry. You just got back in.
I had to go to town today for the taxes, and I froze when I came back. So I've been in bed.
How many blankets?
4.
Yeah, I use 2 myself.
Yeah, I got 4 blankets, but 2 of them are folded over, so that makes 6 layers.
Yeah, I have 1 that I lay on and 2 that I use as like cover. So that's what you were doing today. Going in town, doing taxes. I didn't do my taxes yet. I'm not motivated really to do them, but get it done sooner or later, I guess. So,
what's happening?
Just watching this 2020 mission go on, this 2020 agenda. Yeah, like I know from, I guess because you're not able to see the news like you used to.
No.
But when I've been able to see, researching and stuff, I've seen that a lot of people in the system and like the government or CEOs or stuff like that, a lot of them are resigning, or people being exposed. A lot of people being exposed one by one, and I have apparently very soon a lot of people are going to be either arrested or exposed. Mm-hmm. And that's thanks to Donald Trump. He seems to have like a whole strategy, and he has the military, I guess, backing him. He has military intelligence. Yeah. And it's interesting, on the internet is there's a whole community of people who are researching this stuff, and there's a forum that some people in this community go on, and there's a group of people, a person who go under the name, people pronounce it QAnon. They spell it QANON. And apparently there's a linkage to Trump. It could be him and his team. It's like a way for them to bypass the media and I guess get people on the side, and they're revealing like information, but they do it in a way which isn't, I guess, violating laws. And it's like they give clues about things before they happen, and people are like, wow. And to date, so far, this person or people have not been wrong. And I was looking at the name QAnon, and if you say it out phonetically, it's the word canon. Yeah. Which in religion, canon is like almost like an authoritative scripture that people follow, and that's kind of what this QAnon avatar is to these people. They all seem to follow what this person or people say, and it has the word, canon has the word CA, which is shit, which is very important, and the other part of the word they have none. So I suspect it's something to do with the nuns. And so you have Anonymous, you have WikiLeaks, you have QAnon, you have these people who I see the linkage between all those three sources as nuns.
Yeah.
So I guess
Kanon, if you pronounce it without the sound of U that usually follows a Q, it's more like a K.
Yeah.
Kanon, a Q in the alphabet is an original person genetically engineered. If you look at the way a Q is made, capital Q, it's an O with a spoke stuck into it at the bottom, which represents the egg and the needle.
Yeah.
Like Quebec.
They refer to themselves as patriots because a lot of people are seeing this as like, oh, they're getting the, they're serving the American people, and they're trying to get rid of the crooks and all the corruption. But I see, especially with tomorrow's football, Super Bowl, I think that's like a metaphor because it's the Rams, which are goats or greedy bureaucrats, and you have the Patriots, military, which it could be.
Don't forget the word super. A super is someone who makes soup. And a soup is made in a pot, and it is brewed. And who gets to brew but a witch? Mother Superior.
Yeah. Soup.
Lake Superior. In the Bible, it's a mess of potage is the soup. It's a fish soup. And a fish soup is when water flows on land, bringing the fish into places where they weren't before. And somebody is brewing the soup. She brews. He brews.
I was thinking about the other day. I wanted to ask you about this. What is that? Where did you get that? Learn that Ma and Pa's kettle.
Ma and Pa kettle.
Yeah.
That was something we had when we were kids.
Oh. Okay, because I never heard that when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, I was a kid a little bit before you. 78 now.
That's penultimate before 88.
Yeah. Well, it's approaching the long-term life, eh?
Yeah.
At least in North America. I don't think the rest of the world surpasses North America for longevity. Longevity usually occurs when one does not get overwhelmed by the events. And most countries, it's almost impossible not to be overwhelmed by the events. But that doesn't mean some countries are better at hiding the events than others.
You're right. Like there's events all over the world I'm seeing, apparently. And, with I was trying to figure out what is meant by these yellow jackets in France. Like, I know a yellow jacket is a sort of wasp predator.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Yellow
to figure.
is the color of religion. You look at stuff coming out of the Vatican, the highest ranking are the Pope, and much of what he wears is yellow and white. Whereas the second rank wears purple, and the third rank wears red or maroon. Maroon.
Is that linked to that? I remember when I was on your farm, we were going over, it was the dance of something, and there was colors associated with it. Dance of, I forget. But the colors were significant. I see all this activity around the world, and I see now in like places like Australia, which apparently I think parts of Australia will be around after this cataclysmic change, but it seems like they have been trained in their way of thinking to be more what they call liberal, kind of socialist type of thinking. And it seems like, I guess maybe because of that, the cataclysm, after they destroy everything, because I was trying to figure out, okay, why is this communism thing, it seems to influence a lot of people's thinking. And I guess after the cataclysmic event, when everything that's left, I guess the system figures they'll manage everything through like a form of communism. But I don't know.
The suggestion is that after the cataclysmic events take place and the people in charge wipe out all the people who worked for them under the current system, then what will be left will be a space program in the north and a green Antarctica in the south with a central area where only meetings are allowed. The ones from the north can send diplomats to the middle. The ones from the south can send diplomats to the middle, and they can exchange and do whatever they want to do there, but nobody from the north can go to the south because they are going to be denied that right by the people in the south. When you talk about the south, of course, you're talking about Antarctica, and the biggest places nearby are Argentina and South America, and New Zealand and Australia on the other side. So how much of that will be left when the people who are in charge today destroy their own workers?
Exactly.
Australia is currently going through the opposite to our weather. We are, in fact, getting the coldest weather under this polar vortex, they are getting the hottest.
You know, it always snowed like serious snow. Not even serious the other day. But I'm hearing you guys.
We're under it. I've been trying to shovel to keep up with it, but I've only been able to manage keeping the driveway open for cars to come in about 20 feet and a pathway for me to walk out into the field and another one up to the house. That's the maximum I've been able to do in a day. And the snow in the last week has been record snowfalls. January is an all-time record month for snow in this area.
How much came down?
I don't know what the figures are because, as you said, I can't follow the news too much. But it's waist high in a lot of places, and that's because we've had like 3-4 really cold days, then 3 or 4 days of snow. Then it warms up to 0 for a day and everything drops by about 6 or 8 inches. Then it snows again because there's ice underneath and the snow can't melt lower than the ice, you know. And it just keeps adding 6 inches at a time. And of course, I have a scraper type shovel, but under these conditions, you can't lift a shovelful.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that is a lot. We haven't had snow like that here.
Yeah.
Waist high, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the highest...
Going out there again today. So.
And how are your roads? Are they...
Well, roads are not bad. They're usually delayed by 24 hours before they get back to normal. But, they've got a lot of equipment here in Canada for snow removal.
Do you get a lot of potholes on your road? From the shovels, from the plows and stuff?
Well, not at this stage because it's still frozen. But it all depends on the material they use to make the roads, and the people who make the roads want to have jobs that are long-lasting. So potholes are usually a product of bad road making.
Yep. You should see New York when there's potholes everywhere.
You can prevent it if you want to.
Yeah.
But the ones who want to make money all winter don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you suggest seeing all these people like in government, like high figures, high level people in government, they're being exposed as I guess I just look.
It's part of the getting rid of the people who work for you.
Yeah.
So, and the amount of snow, of course, is when the flood from the Lou at the Sioux happens, there ain't no place for water to go because the water is already there on land with the snow. So the flood that comes will go further on land, much further than it would if a lot of it was being absorbed along the way.
Yeah.
But, if you're talking about knocking over the bridge, which is now called the Northern Michigan Peninsula, and the water comes flowing, well, it's going to go and flush New York.
Yeah, that's...
Got no place else to go. They can't go into the St. Lawrence Seaway more than what the Seaway can hold, and that's only 35 feet deep and a mile across. So if you got 300 feet coming at 1 mile across, 300 miles coming at 1 mile across, 299 miles of water got no place to go except on land, which is already soaked.
I mean, I just heard, I think yesterday, the day before, there was a 6.6 earthquake in Mexico, I guess just south of the border.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what it means at this stage, but it could be linked.
Well, Mexico is the center of destruction for a lot of the history of the planet.
Interesting. I never knew about that.
Well, that's where the dinosaurs died. The Yucatan Peninsula got hit by a rock from the sky, and the asteroid caused such a commotion that the dinosaurs that had lived for millions of years up to then all could not breathe properly. So, and you look at, the disappearing peoples of that area, Maya and Incas, and it seems like a place you go to disappear. And they're all piling up at the border with Trump and the military making sure they don't cross over. So it's a headline when somebody makes it across. It used to be normal when 1,000 people got across every day, type of thing.
I saw a news thing with like Nancy Pelosi. They was saying because she made a big thing on the news saying, "Oh, this wall is immoral," and then it comes out now that Nancy Pelosi is she has links to Mexican mafia cartel or drug or whatever.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if Nancy Pelosi is not among the leadership of the criminal activity and destruction planning for the U.S.
So you think it's the bureaucrats who are involved with the destruction?
They've always been. It's the bureaucrats that had the French Revolution and chopped off the heads of the leadership so that they could make a phony leadership where they, in fact, were controlling from a hidden place. Bureaucrats kind of never want to be up front in anything, So they hire politicians. And the politicians take the credit and the blame, but the bureaucrats who never run in elections are the ones who really run the show.
Yeah, and they're in positions where they have like lifelong careers. Like they can't get fired. Like, you know, being a civil servant.
Yeah.
You just can serve the rest of your life.
You cannot win an election in the U.S. without somebody having been behind the scenes deciding who's going to win and who's not going to win. It's only 5% of the electorate that decides who's going to win, because 45% of the people who vote for the Democrats and 45% vote for Republicans. Then you have 5% who don't vote, and 5% who vote what they are told to vote. So that 5%, all it has to do is change sides, and they win the election. So when somebody gets on their tail, they want to throw them out, they just switch over. But in this period in time, the people who are getting thrown out are the people that used to run the show.
Yeah.
Now they're being decapitated, not literally, but from their position. Whereas the French Revolution was chop their head off, here it's pull the rug out from under their feet.
The last time the military got rid of bureaucrats, is that true that it was in Egypt?
Well, that's where it started.
Okay.
Egypt is a country that you look at, the code word PT is the same code used by Bell Canada and Ontario Hydro. Peter, the religious gang. And what do you get when you get gypped?
You get
screwed. Well, that's Egypt.
Egypt.
The Ptolemaic dynasty that ran Egypt in what years just before AD came on board. Somewhere down there up until about 300-400 years, I think it was. Been a while since I looked at that stuff. But it doesn't surprise me that Egypt is the place they built pyramids, and Mexico is a place they built pyramids. It's the underground. Until people conclude that not below ground, but under ground, is a pathway called the Moho discontinuity. And they went down there starting prior to the Ice Age, 24,000 years BC, and expanded the highways all over the world with popping up hills where they wanted things to be built. That's why you have Capitol Hill and Parliament Hill and Hillary Clinton. Where the hills are is where the controllers make their appearance. And the other place is out of the water because many of the hills on Earth are underwater. And if you're going to build a vehicle that can travel where you want it, but you live underground, the only thing that makes sense to me is a saucer-shaped vehicle, because it has to come out of a former volcano shaft and survive in water like a submarine and then fly in the air based upon the movement of wind and the air behind it or below it, and can go up and down just like the planes the Air Force has built recently, where they just lift like a helicopter and then fly. So anything to do with flying saucers has nothing to do with outer space. It all has to do with the movement of people who control the moho discontinuity. And they want to be the brain. That's all they care about. They want to be the controllers in the same way that on Earth, the UN is run by bureaucrats. Number two is number one. Because number one is in hiding. As an ant goes into hiding and sends its troops out to gather up the goodies and take them below ground to the queen.
And these people, I guess the Trogs, they have like different groups, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I understand, 2 different groups.
Now they have competing groups.
Yeah.
Make it look like it's people on the surface who are in charge and competing, like the U.S. and Russia and China and Germany. But they are there only to create an illusion that the people of the earth know what's happening and they've been told everything, and that's a lie. They are only there as cosmetic leaders, whether they be political or religious or military. But when the time comes, there is a ranking that takes place, and people at the bottom of the ranking start disappearing. It works its way up the ladder to where we are now, is a lot of people at the top are disappearing. Eventually, there is no need for anybody born in the period between 8,000 BC and 2000 AD. no place for them in the future. Only the gang that'll come out of the underground to take over command of a space program. And Antarctica will be their home. That's why you hear news on the radio or see it on your phone. Mm-hmm. Almost every day there's now a story on Antarctica.
Yeah, I was just looking at the story.
Yeah.
Dana sent me on Antarctica.
Finding, lakes under ice and all kinds of
fossils,
stories about caverns and exploring caves and exploring submarines that go under ice.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't realize yet is that there is a secret residency on Antarctica which is different than their own. And they can't be seen because they haven't earned the right to be seen.
Who earns that right?
The people who are no longer living. There was a civilization prior to the Big Bang, and there will be a civilization after the Big Bust or Bang, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And those continuing civilizations are considered to be dead, but there is one that never dies because it is the non-living, made out mostly of water and electricity, leaving aside the DNA function of the living. They are invisible, however, as present as a space between words in a book. And the book cannot be read without its spaces.
Non-living.
Well, they call the beginning of this creation a Big Bang, but it's more a big bag. Drop the N and you got a bag.
I remember when the Papa's got a brand new bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
New life.
Hey, Glenn, are you familiar with any of that sleep paralysis?
What's that word?
Sleep paralysis?
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
When you're sleeping, your body kind of, you lose control of your muscle functions, right? Because you're sleeping, but then it's almost like like in between dream state where your eyes open and then people feel like they're living in a dream, like they're wide awake, but their dreaming is still going on, right?
Yeah.
You're basically laying there awake, but you can't move, but things are going on around you. Like you're in there.
Okay.
You ever heard of that?
Well, I know the concept, but I hadn't heard the word.
Yeah. So, you know, back in like some mythology, they had like that banshee that would sit on people's chests,
yeah,
like, screaming it in their face. Right, that's sleep paralysis.
okay. Well, I accept the fact that it certainly is possible.
Yeah. Well, I had an experience with it. I think it might be that over the summer. It was probably about like the sun was just rising, and then I just remember like I woke up but I couldn't move because I felt like this kind of force was just pushing me into my bed, and it was just like this kind of purplish ball of kind of misty looking energy or something that every time I would try to sit up, it would just slam me back into my bed is what I was feeling. But I could look around my room and I could see all the details of my room as if, you know, I'm awake. And someone said that might have been me experiencing sleep paralysis. It actually happened twice in like probably within 2 weeks or so.
It seems that those types of activities occur when you're hot. You're asleep, but you're very warm, more than when you're cold. Your body seems to see through things that it can't see in the cold when you're very hot. So I would imagine that Australia, who's going through the hottest period ever, from what I understand, would have a lot of that. But it's because you're coming close to the invisible people who are not living, and what they are doing, you get to see a little bit of it without being able to participate. Although it's going on all the time, seems that when you're living in a cold place, it doesn't happen very often. You know, Danny, everybody walks into a room, and if they don't see any furniture in the room, they say it's empty. Well, it's not empty. And the proof that it's not empty is you turn on a radio and it plays. Something brought the sound there. I'm getting a call from Jennifer. I won't answer right away.
You got to go?
Not yet. 5 minutes. Same thing with TV. Infrared, ultraviolet, the whole spectrum of waves are non-existent as far as people are concerned. But if you're tuned in, you can see them. You can see the waves of radio and television, and to be tuned in, you're going to have the proper tuner. And some people have the tuner and some people don't. So it can be that there has to be a coming together of the temperature that you're at and the turning on of the tuner in your body for an experience like you described to occur. You're only starting to see what's already there. Spaces between words. Remember that. When I was 16 years old, I was graduating from Ottawa Technical High School with a specialty in printing, specifically typesetting. And one of the most amazing things to me was that most people who weren't working in typesetting could not understand the concept of something being there, although you can't see it. But we knew in typesetting that every time you put together letters and you wanted to go to another word, you had to put something there. The only difference is you made it a little shorter than the other letters that you were assembling out of type to make words. So that when the time to print came around, that thing you put there in between the words couldn't get ink on it. And only the words printed. Well, life is the same thing. Life is exactly the same thing. Look around, you don't see radio waves, you don't see television, you don't see infrared, ultraviolet, whatever, but they're there. Sitting on your bed can be somebody who's trying to make a point, passing you a message, turning on some switches in your brain and body for you to act or react.
I know the concept when you say the space between words. I remember listening to Alan Watts, the Eastern philosopher, and he talked about nothing. He talked about how the space between the planets is just as important as the planets themselves, because without that space, there would be no planets.
Absolutely. The body is not us. The body is the universe. The bag, the Big Bang's bag, and everything that happens in the universe is linked to everything else. You can make experiments in physics with atoms and particles and muons and all kinds of things, and you can match its twin as you go through the experiment, happening a foot away, a mile away, 1,000 miles away, or 1,000,000 miles away. Because nothing that we do is not affecting the whole. Every single living thing affects the whole.
Exactly. That's why I was learning that from you. Every choice you make, you got to think about, how it affects the whole. And that's why, people like, I guess, our controllers who are unethical, I guess they don't think about that, how their actions are affecting absolutely everything. It's a problem.
See, it's the main choice is what I do is for the purpose of the living and the non-living.
Mm-hmm.
And if I choose instead to make choices that are only intended for me, then what I do is I pass on information to others who say, well, you can't be a politician without being a crook. So I'm going to be a crook, you know, because they seem to have so much power. People want to have the jobs so much that they quit jobs where they're making more money, because they know that although they're making less money as a politician, they're going to be in a better position to be a crook and help themselves. Well, in the end, what they've done is created an entire world of crooked leadership. And that's useless to their bosses when their time comes. They are the ones to go. But where they go is places like Alzheimer's, heart failure, strokes, early departure to a place they don't want to go. If they knew where they were going, they wouldn't want to be there. But it is the end product of the decisions, the choices they made. Now we're getting an option saying, if you make the proper choice in doing this, you will help the non-living. And that will demonstrate that you are not so selfish as to only think about yourself and what you consider to be your family. Well, your family there is no such thing except the universe complete. And if what you're doing has done wrong to the whole, you know, I keep thinking of those, 26 men have as much money as all the rest of the world or something put together. Or when you've done that kind of stuff, you're going to end up in a court that you can't buy. A court that makes decisions based upon what your decisions were when you confronted the need to make a decision. While those people thought they were getting away with things, what happens to them is worse than anything they may have given away while they were here.
All for instant gratification.
Yeah. You got it. I got to call back my Jennifer.
Okay, Glenn. Talk to you again.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Right. Bye.